real cases before a real judge.
Plaintiff Danielle Stanton says before her father passed away recently, he had been in a relationship with the defendant for 20 years. Danielle claims her father lived and died in filth because the defendant refused to take care of him. And now she won't turn over any of her father's property, so she's suing. Defendant Barbara Hall and her daughter Melissa say Barbara loved and cared for Danielle's father for over 20 years. Melissa claims while Danielle's father was dying in the hospital, Danielle was in the waiting room degrading him, and Barbara's countersuing for defamation.
All right, start with you.
Well, Your Honor, my dad passed away July 2nd, 2012.
Sorry to hear that.
Thank you. The only memories that I have of my dad are his glasses in his obituary, because this selfish woman that my dad's been with for 20 years won't give us kids anything. And my dad lived in filth, and he died in filth with this lady. In the house, there was cockroaches, fleas, animal feces everywhere, animal hair. She never cooked. She never cleaned for him. It was always me or my sister always going over there.
If you were coming over there frequently enough, you had to see the roaches, and you had to see all this other stuff. So what did you all do when you saw all this?
I went over there. I helped clean. He was admitted in the hospital on February 8th, a day before Barb decided to go to California for the birth of her grandchild. I went to my dad's house because something just didn't feel right, and I found him unconscious in a puddle of blood. And my kids were there. They witnessed it. They were all crying, and they called the ambulance, and I called her, and she said, what can she do about it, that she's not going to cancel her flight. A loving companion for 20 years doesn't say that, and he was put on life support. His heart kept stopping, and I was there every day until he got out. And she was more worried about social services going in there to condemn her home than my own dad.
Okay, let me hear from her. Ma'am, you want to speak?
Your Honor, I was with Dan for 20+ years. I loved him for over 20+ years. I have cooked, I have cleaned for this man. I work, besides I also work seven days a week. And
how do you respond to her allegation that the house was unsanitary?
Yes, there were the dog feces, but Your Honor, the man couldn't get up to let the dogs out. So when I come home, I had to clean up the mess.
Okay, so you would clean it when you discovered it?
Yes, I cleaned the mess up.
Okay, you keep raising your hand.
Yeah, can
State
I
your
please
name?
say something? My name is Melissa McNulty. I'm Barbara's daughter. I've known Dan my entire life, from what I can remember. He basically was my father. He taught me how to drive. He taught me work ethic, something that he must have not have taught his own daughter because she doesn't work. When she had mentioned that my mom had went to California to witness the birth of her grandson, my mom was already out there for a day when she had found her father on the floor in the kitchen. We go to the house. I get a call from my sister informing me that he's at the hospital. I go up to the hospital. We're all in the waiting room. Danielle, every family member is there. My mom has been on the phone since Danielle had called my mom, and my mom was on the phone with somebody at all times, wanting to know information, crying on the phone, begging to know information. Danielle was in the waiting room. This is what she was saying. She was degrading her father, saying, oh, his underwear, or just making fun of her own father in the waiting room in front of everybody, saying, oh, his underwear is like yellow and he's got stains in them. I just told the nurses to throw them out.
Plaintiff Danielle Stanton says her father dated the defendant for over 20 years before he died, and she claims her father lived and died in filth because the defendant neglected him.
Ma'am, you want to tell me why you're suing? The breach of contract and emotional distress?
my dad
A little
passed,
more tissue, please.
we all went to the funeral home the next day, and we sat down with the funeral director, and Barb agreed to pay a fourth of the cost. We were unaware what the cost was going to be because my dad was a veteran.
Okay. She agreed to pay a fourth.
Yeah, and they paid, and some of the state paid, so there was still a balance.
Okay, what was the balance?
$200 for the death certificates and the obituary, and then for my dad's military marker, the garnet for the cemetery was $500 and I believe $8.
And so I suppose the $4,000 or so, or nearly $5,000 you're suing for, is emotional distress for what?
Because I couldn't finish school. I wanted to graduate in May.
Why couldn't you finish school?
I couldn't do my ceremony, and it meant so much to me. And I couldn't get married. I had postponed my wedding. And then just taking my kids in and out every day in the cold just to be with them, to take care of them. I couldn't sit home and be a fiance or a mother to my kids because I was always over there.
Okay.
I've been under so much emotional.
But what has she done to you to cause her to owe you nearly $5,000?
Because she tells everybody that I didn't care for him.
And that stopped you from going to school and all the other things?
No, Your Honor, she called me every day. I have a witness, Shannon, my friend. She took me over there to my father's house to take care of him, to cook for him, to clean his bedding.
And why are you suing her, though? What did she do to you?
Because she was married. She wasn't married to him, but 20 years. She's supposed to be a loving companion.
Okay, so you're saying
why couldn't she do it?
Okay, you're saying that she should pay you money because you had to take care of your own dad. That doesn't sound reasonable. If a person's mate doesn't want to be helpful, that just means they have a bad relationship, and when one or the other becomes terminally ill, there's no law that says you have to take care of them. The worst thing you can conclude is that she was a bad girlfriend or a neglectful girlfriend. If I am to believe everything you said, that's the only conclusion we can come to. Ma'am, how do you want to answer this?
Okay, for when we went to Snyder funeral, she did not say, hey, 4 ways or whatever. She didn't say whatever. There is also, besides the 3 kids of Danny, there's also 4 other children. And so it's like, she could go to with the other children.
Did you agree, though, to pay 1/4?
No, I didn't agree to pay for it.
Were you asked?
She did not ask me.
All right. What's the counterclaim for defamation?
Basically, Danielle slandered my mom so much on Facebook. My mom and Danielle have about 40 mutual friends together. She had said that my mom wanted her father dead, that she's a pig and she's fooled everybody else. She don't cook and clean. She don't take her dog outside. She's saying that her dad didn't like her. She was a sorry blank. She's also stating that she's dumb and that she's mad because that she doesn't feel that her dad loved my mother.
Plaintiff Danielle Stanton says her father dated the defendant for over 20 years before he died, and she claims her father lived and died in filth because the defendant neglected him.
Let me give you a response based on one of the last statements you made. You said, she stated that she didn't feel, and so...
And that one part she put
everything she's saying is opinion. Everything you just read is her opinion. In other words, it's like name calling. It's an opinion. I don't believe she loved my dad. She was nasty and not clean. She didn't take care of my dad. And she says she did. That's why you have a difference of opinion. Defamation is someone intentionally making a statement that they know to be untrue, destroying that person's reputation. Sounds like to me she was venting her negative opinion towards your mom. And ma'am, the promise to help pay, that was just that, a promise of a gift. It wasn't completed. A gift is only enforceable once it's completed. Had she given you all the money and say, give me my money back, couldn't have gotten it back. Had she given you the money and you all put it away and then she comes and takes it back, then you have a claim against her. But when someone says, I'm going to help you in the future, and then they don't, that was a promise of a future gift, and it wasn't completed. And so in this case, I must dismiss your claim for the funeral expenses because she had no legal obligation. They weren't married. And it was a promise of a gift, therefore. And secondly, with regard to the emotional distress, I think I explained to you that essentially, at the very most, that was a girlfriend who neglected her mate. So I'm going to have to dismiss both you guys' cases, and hopefully you can work things out. With regard to the memorabilia, which you're not suing for today, and good, because you wouldn't have a case here either for that. You have to open up an estate. So you as a daughter and any other blood relative can initiate the estate, or if you all want to allow her, you can. Good luck. Both your cases are dismissed.
Your mom doesn't care
like everybody else
because
tells
your
you that
mother
you're
doesn't
alive,
care
right?
because the possessions don't mean nothing to her, but the
okay.
possessions mean a lot to us
I'm
kids.
sure it
Yeah,
does.
right,
Like the Social
Celia.
Security card, so you can
Yeah.
do some conning on
Yeah.
it. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
You're kind your
just
own
like your kids. Your kids have what? 7? You have 8 kids? 9
So-
kids. Sorry,
so-
9 kids. You got rid of one,
so
right?
I take care of mine.
Oh, do you?
Yeah.
Isn't one in foster care?
Yeah.
And you just got him back?
Well, weren't you in foster care too?
I was, but guess what? I'm a better person.